I don't know. It's not starting.
And welcome back to the channel.
Welcome back.
This week's episode is all about Lake Powell.
Lake Powell.
So we mentioned this in our previous episode where we were on our way back to the East Coast and we were in Colorado. We were at the Great Sand Dunes in Colorado. It was there that we had a whim, or decided on a whim. You like that word whim, don't you?
Yeah.
Ruckus! We're gonna try to get through this without Ruckus bumping the tripod, but I don't think that's going to work because for some reason, out of all the space he has, he loves to go underneath the tripod.
He does.
So we decided on a whim.
Not to go back to the East Coast.
Not to go back to the East Coast and to shoot back to Lake Powell in Arizona.
Yes.
For two main reasons. The first one is that when we were in Bryce Canyon and we had spoke with several people that lived in the area that go to Lake Powell every year, they said that the water level was the lowest they've ever seen it. And
they said we should go visit it.
Said we should
before
go visit
it dries up.
Before it dries up. And the second reason is that when we went to the Great Salt Lake in Utah, I had seen pictures. Remember, we're from the East Coast, and I had seen pictures of Lake Powell, but I got my wires crossed, and when we went to Great Salt Lake, I was thinking that the pictures that I saw were of Great Salt Lake. And so I was super excited.
Video that you watched.
But yeah, it was a video.
Nerf guns.
It was a Nerf gun video, and I was like, I want to go there. And I thought, anyway, so that was the other reason we were like, we got to go see Lake Powell because that's what we really wanted to see.
He was disappointed, and I was totally confused.
So that's what we did. We shot back over to Arizona from Colorado. We went through the Four Corners, and then we hit Lake Powell. And we're glad we did. It was amazing.
It was incredible.
Awesome stuff. We hope you enjoy. And that's that.
And that's that.
Oh. In a little bit, you'll see how we got stranded on our jet ski in one of the canyons at Lake Powell. We didn't do a lot of videoing after the fact, so you don't get to see the frustration and the terror that we went through.
Well, I couldn't hold the camera at the same time as trying to help you start the
We'll get into that here in a minute.
Yeah. If you're traveling this way and you see the Four Corners, you might as well just stop because it's amazing. I mean, when can you say that you've been in 4 states at one time? Pretty cool. We stayed at Wahweap Campground. It was great to be so close to the lake, but there wasn't any shade, which made for some very hot days inside the rig.
Gosh, this storm is scary. So when do you feel like it's gonna blow our trailer over? Look at that sky, it's so pretty. Oh my goodness, so pretty.
Navajo Canyon was amazing, especially since it was our first time cruising through the canyons by watercraft. Despite what happens a little bit later, it was a really cool experience. The canyon walls are like tapestry for the imagination. Every patch of erosion and watermark forms a different painting for the individual viewer. It's so beautiful.
Uh-oh.
What's wrong?
I don't know. It's not starting.
So yeah, and then that happened. We were a good bit into Navajo Canyon on the jet ski. Funny thing is, when we rented the jet ski, what did she say?
She said, if you break down, you're going to need to be towed back. So you're going to have to ask someone to tow you back.
Because there's no cell reception.
None.
So one thing we'll never do again
Is rent a jet ski.
is rent a jet ski. And we've said that
No.
before, a long time ago. We were like, because
Yeah.
we didn't have fun on a jet ski last time we rented one, but we thought we'd try this again, and it was a bad idea. We got
Really bad idea.
about halfway down, maybe a little bit further into Navajo Canyon. As you just saw, we were actually heading towards a little beach area that we wanted to stop and relax,
lunch.
get some sun, eat some food. And just before we got up to it, I cut the engine because you don't want to suck anything up in through the intake. And I went to go turn the engine back on, and you heard the beeping. It just started beeping. We didn't know what was going on. I've never
scary.
owned a jet ski, so I don't know a whole lot about jet skis. All I know is that it would not start back up. So I actually had to get out,
Yeah.
and I think I could walk, or I don't know if I had to swim it a little
You had
bit.
to swim a little bit.
But we had to get it back to the shoreline,
Thank
so
God.
we swam a little bit, walked a little bit, got it to that little beach area, and proceeded to flag people down. That lasted a good spell because
Yeah.
where we were, one gentleman.
It was earlier in the morning, so everyone was still going
Most
out.
people were going the opposite way. The first guy that we stopped, we flagged him down, and he came in, and he said he couldn't tow us in because he didn't have that much gas. He didn't know if he could make it back. And adding our weight to it, he said he didn't know if he could make it. So
And then we met some people on jet skis and asked them to see if they could help us, but they didn't really speak any English, so that was kind of hard.
I think they were from Brazil or
Yeah.
somewhere. But so the guys on the jet skis were nice enough to go and help flag somebody down, and they found Steve and Brittany. God bless them. They came to our
Thank
rescue.
God.
They were on a boat, and he knew enough about jet skis to figure out
Yeah.
that our battery had died. And luckily, being a man's man, Steve had a little battery jump box that he kept with him on his boat just in case, because they've lived on the lake for a long time,
Yeah.
and they have a houseboat out there and everything. So we hooked up the jumper, and it jumped and started, but as soon as we took the cables off, it would die off again. So the battery was completely shot.
Totally shot.
Yep. So Steve was like, you know what, just leave the jumper on there, because if we left it on there, it would stay stay running.
Yeah.
He said, just leave it on there, go back to the marina. He gave us his number. He said, call us, later on tonight, or we'll call you. So we had to
And
go.
who does that? Like
Yeah,
he
that was really
trusted
cool.
us with it, and it was so awesome of him to do that.
So as you see here in a second, we had to travel at about 2 knots.
Yeah.
The whole way back because we were afraid if we hit a wake or anything and bumped, it would dislodge the battery because it was very precarious how it was on there.
Scary.
Yeah, so that was fun. But we made our way back to the marina without any incident, and we hooked up later with Steve and Brittany and gave them their jumper box back. We bought them a case of beer, and we ended up hanging out with them the next day on their boat.
Yeah.
So it was cool. We met some good people. It was a fun, although very stressful experience to start. It ended up being a neat experience that we're kind of glad we had.
Definitely.
And the people at the jet ski rental place were really cool about it. They
they
didn't
were
charge us.
awesome.
They were very apologetic, very
Yeah.
nice family-owned business out of Page. But the next day, we got a boat.
Got a boat.
And that was awesome.
Awesome.
The boat is the way to go.
Boat is definitely the way to go. We think the coolest part of Lake Powell is definitely the canyons you can cruise through. We hit Navajo, Antelope, and Labyrinth canyons. We would highly recommend doing it by boat. It was very relaxing. Bring some extra fuel with you to extend your adventure deeper into the lake's vast reaches.
Ooh, babe. I thought it was low. It's stuff on top of the water.
Turn around right here. Pretty murky.
Yeah.
Me. So here's a little, so here's a little bit about Lake Powell that you may or may not know. Lake Powell is a man-made lake.
It
It was
is.
created back in 1963 as when the dam was finished, when they dammed up the Colorado River with the
Yes.
Glen Canyon Dam and created the Glen Canyon Recreation Area. That's when they finished it, was in 1963. And it
1963.
took 17 years for the water level to fill up to where they call full pool,
Full pool.
which I believe was 3,700 feet above sea level.
Yep.
It took 17 years to fill up Lake Powell by damming up the Colorado River.
And there's a fun fact.
Fun fact,
It's the second largest man-made lake in the United States.
Followed
Guess-
by?
Lake Mead.
Lake Mead in Nevada. The Hoover Dam, I believe, created Lake Mead.
Yes.
I hope I'm right about that
I
because I'm
think
looking
so.
really dumb if I'm not. So the other cool thing about Lake Powell, which it's funny when you go to these places because you end up, at least I do, end up
Yeah.
Googling, the history or how this, how that, and come to find out that all dams have a termination date, have a lifespan, so to speak.
Which is so odd.
Which I never really thought of that, you know, that a dam isn't going to be something that'll last forever. The dam itself might be there forever, but real briefly, what happens when rivers deposit sediment as they travel along, and when water's moving, you know, rushing through these rivers, they deposit sediment. So when they create a dam and the water fills up and creates the lake, which is water that's not moving, when the moving water of the river hits that lake, the sediment all deposits right at the basically that meeting spot of the river and the lake. So that forms a delta, and the delta it forms, and that delta slowly moves down the lake bed towards the dam over time. And the reason why Lake Powell was such a good choice, and same as Lake Mead, is these areas, these canyons with all the fingers, it makes that delta kind of spread out, and it makes the delta take a lot longer to get to the dam. So I can't remember what the original figure was. I think it was like 700 years. I think they believed it would take the delta to reach the dam, but now they're saying because of drought and things like that it might become inert before them. So these lakes do have an end date.
Yeah.
Now, it's not going to be in our lifetime, but it's definitely something worth going to see anyway.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And that's pretty much all our knowledge. There's a couple of other things. Oh yeah, one of the places we wanted to see that we didn't get to go to was the Rainbow Bridge, which is very famous, but the lake is actually so low that
you can't travel
you
there.
couldn't even get there.
So go visit Lake Powell as soon as you can.
Yeah, get out there and check it out, because you know it's only going to be there for another couple hundred years.
It's amazing. The hike to Horseshoe Bend is only 1.5 miles round trip. But if you are there in the summer like ourselves, make sure you go early in the morning. We went later in the afternoon and it was still super hot. The path to the bend is also wheelchair accessible, which is awesome. So we want to do a big shout out to our biggest fans.
Our three biggest fans, Addison, Gunner, and Kinsley. Love you guys. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for supporting us.
Enjoy.